The Trump administration's new national cyber strategy is starting to translate into agency actions. But there are still a lot of questions about what comes next with the implementation of the strategy. And with more details, Federal News Network's Justin Doubleday joins me now. Justin, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Terry.
What are some of the specific ways agencies are starting to implement this new strategy?
You're starting to see some of the agencies that have already been focused on cyber for a long time really start to lean into some of the themes in this new cyber strategy, the 6 pillars, which kind of cut across different cybersecurity themes that we've been hearing about for a long time. But critical infrastructure is, of course, a focus for this new strategy. The Energy Department's Office of Cybersecurity, Energy Security, and Emergency Response, or CSER as it's known, is really one of those critical federal offices that has been focused on securing the energy sector writ large since it was created in 2019. And it is actually starting to put together a new strategic plan, its first strategic plan since it was initially established. And this will be a pretty big deal because the energy sector is considered one of the, if not the most important critical infrastructure sector because it underlies so much of how other sectors work and so much of how, of course, our modern lives work. Alex Fitzsimmons is director of CSER. And he spoke a little bit about the goals, or at least the idea behind this new strategic plan at a McCrary Institute event earlier this week.
CSER is a truly unique office within the federal government. It is the only office that is exclusively dedicated to strengthening the security and resilience of the entire energy sector. So it's an office that was created under the first Trump administration, has never had a strategic plan clearly written down explaining what the mission is, what the goals, objectives, key performance indicators are that we're all striving to achieve. Definitely helps that we have a new national cyber strategy.
And Justin, then what about the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency's role that would go along with that?
Yeah, CISA's role really cuts across all aspects of the strategy. It was interesting, though, at this McCrary Institute event, several CISA officials spoke about how artificial intelligence-driven cyber attacks is really amping up the need to more quickly patch software and perhaps use AI as part of that process as well. And at a baseline, it's really creating this need to redefine how cyber and software vulnerability management works. CISA sponsors the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures program through funding and by adding CVEs to the pipeline. And these CVEs are used across the cybersecurity industry to identify and address cybersecurity vulnerabilities in all sorts of software products. CISA also directly manages the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities database. That's a database of particularly critical cyber vulnerabilities that CISA pulls in. And when it adds a vulnerability to this database, federal agencies are required to address them within set timeframes, typically about a week to 2 weeks. But with AI now really allowing hackers to more quickly find and exploit cyber vulnerabilities, CISA is rethinking perhaps those timelines. Chris Butera is Acting Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity at CISA.
We're continuously working through the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, the KEV, and other ways to help prioritize organizations to do the patching they need to and to do that at speed. So we're continuing to do refinements around that program. But we have to add more ways to do automation in this space and continuously moving as fast as the adversary is going.
Justin, what else is the administration planning to do as far as discrete activities to implement this strategy, especially now when we're seeing perhaps counter cyber ops from our current activities in Iran?
Yeah, it's certainly a big issue for cyber defenders right now. White House National Cyber Director Sean Cairncross has been speaking about technology pilot programs that will be forthcoming under this new cyber strategy. There will be pilots specifically focused on the federal government and improving federal network defense. Cairncross said his office is working with the Office of Management and Budget and the General Services Administration to overcome procurement hurdles and deploy new cyber technologies faster. And then Cairncross says the Office of the National Cyber Director is also going to do similar technology pilots in specific critical infrastructure sectors, things like water utilities and rural hospitals. They'll actually go to specific water utilities in, one state and work with them on a technology pilot. Cairncross says if it's successful, they'll try to scale it more broadly, but his focus seems to really be on actually, rolling out some new technologies, testing them out in some of these critical environments, and then scaling them if they do work. More to come on that. We don't really know yet who exactly will perhaps be running those pilots, how they will be run, whether there will be more details around participating in those pilots.
So folks outside the administration, cyber policy experts, what are they watching as far as how the implementation of this strategy is going to play out?
Yeah, everybody wants an implementation plan, and we were all a little spoiled under the last administration. The Biden administration had their 2023 cyber strategy and then published multiple implementation plans that laid out in pretty great detail specific actions that the administration was taking, as well as the agencies responsible for leading those actions. These were, 20, 30, 40-page documents with a lot of detail. So far, it doesn't seem like we're going to get the same, a similar sort of big implementation plan from this administration. Caitlin Clark served in the Biden administration in both the Office of the National Cyber Director and on the National Security Council. She was kind of instrumental in the initial cyber EO that the Biden administration put out. She's now at Venable as a senior director, and she talked a little bit about what she's watching from the Trump administration and in their new cyber strategy.
I would not expect a big spreadsheet like the implementation plan under the last administration. I would expect to see, similar to what the administration has done on AI, implementation through executive action, through multiple executive orders that are tied to the different pillars. I don't know about you all, but I have my refresh on for Friday afternoons, checking whitehouse.gov for new executive orders, presidential memoranda. I think that's going to be the implementation plan.
Justin, what does that approach signal in terms of an administration-wide focus on cyber and cyber defense?
I think it signals a few things. I think, first, the Office of the National Cyber Director is very much in the driver's seat when it comes to this cyber strategy and implementing it. And I think they're kind of holding their cards close to the vest a little bit, frankly. And some people might like that and some people might not, but it certainly seems to be where they're going. But, you also have CSER, CISA, these agencies that are really critical to implementing a national cyber strategy, who appear to be in lockstep with the administration so far on implementing this thing. It's just that we're going to see the details perhaps come out in fits and starts rather than in one big fell swoop.
That's Federal News Network's Justin Doubleday. Justin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Terry.
You can find his full story at federalnewsnetwork.com.